The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 796. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Well, hello, friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap-Chan, and today I have an amazing lady on the show today. She is the senior editor at BuzzFeed, and I'm really excited to have her on and share her story with us today on self-confidence. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Crystal Rowe. Crystal, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Good. I'm good. Thanks. Hi, Sheena. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so I'm a senior editor at BuzzFeed. And for people who don't know what that means, like my mom, basically I write lists and quizzes, which you may be familiar with, sort of BuzzFeed's bread and butter. But I tend to focus a lot on like women's interest in content. So stuff like with periods and dating and fun stuff like that. And then I also do illustrations. So I do a lot of drawings. I'll do like comics and stuff for our BuzzFeed Instagram comics account and my own account. So yeah, that's sort of in a nutshell what I do.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Crystal, what's your cultural background?
I am Korean. My parents are from South Korea. They were both born and raised in Seoul, and they came to the United States in like the 70s. I don't know the exact year. To New Hampshire, actually. So I was born in New Hampshire.
Thanks for sharing that. What'd be your favorite self-confidence quote?
Okay, this is really silly. I'm not a huge quotes person, but for some reason, the first thing that popped into my head was Michael Scott's quote from The Office, which is actually just a Wayne Gretzky quote, which is, "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take," which is like, it's such a silly thing because it's like, you know, from The Office, but like, I'm like, that's really honest and very true and like very easy to like remember. And I think just like a good guide for life. And also The Office is a great show.
Thanks for sharing that. And I do enjoy The Office. And yeah, sometimes we can get life lessons or great quotes from TV. So, I like what you mentioned. And yeah, if we don't take those shots, we never know what the results are. I mean, just because we have this fear of failure doesn't mean like it could happen. I mean, yeah, failure is inevitable, like it happens, but we just keep moving forward. But we never know unless we take that action. So thanks for sharing that. And in your own words, how do you define self-confidence?
I just think of self-confidence as like not worrying about what others think, like what they'll think about what you do, or like even like what you wear, what you say, which is something that's like easier said than done, of course. But to me, it's as simple as that.
Thanks for sharing that. And it's so true. I know growing up as Asian women, it's, we're always like fearful of what others might think of us or how we act or what we're supposed to do, is just because we're brought up to like always make sure we make everyone else happy before us. We never make any noise. We just kind of stay in the background. But, the more that you can go out there and just not care about what other people think, then you're free to do what you want, regardless of, negative feedback, whatever it may be. So thanks for sharing that. And Crystal, what was your life like before you discovered self-confidence?
So like, I feel like I've actually been pretty self-confident for most of my life. I certainly as like a child, and I think a lot of that is owed to my upbringing. I was very fortunate to have very supporting parents. Obviously I come from an Asian family, and I feel like, Asian families can sometimes be a little tougher than like American families, but my parents are pretty cool. And I think, they're always supportive of just like my interests, like doing art and stuff like that. But I actually think struggling with self-confidence is something that comes up when people are like usually like figuring out life as like a teen or as a young adult. I definitely feel like the self-confidence thing wasn't something I really thought about until I was a little bit older in life. But for the most part, I feel like I've been pretty self-confident. So as I get older, like I'm just like more like whatever about things, I guess.
Thanks for sharing that. And what was that point in your life when you realized you can go out there and be who you are, do what you want? What was that aha moment?
So for me, I don't think I really had like an aha moment about finding my self-confidence. But for me, even still, it comes and goes, having like self-confidence in like my work or anything in life in general, which I think is like perfectly human, and it's totally normal to have moments of self-doubt, even if you consider yourself to be a pretty self-confident person for the most part. To me, that's just really human nature. But I feel like maybe for me, there was a turning point with my artwork and the stuff that I create when I realized like other people, other than just like my friends and family, thought what I did was like cool or like good. And a lot of that was around like the time with like BuzzFeed, because like even though I always did a lot of like artwork and stuff growing up, I never took it like seriously. I was never like, oh, I can make a career out of this. I always assumed like I'm going to be like a starving artist, or like I would have to be like an art teacher or something, which is fine, but it just wasn't what I wanted. So I was just like, I can't really do anything with this. And then BuzzFeed came along, who like, I originally didn't even know what BuzzFeed was until I started working there. But then like I found as I was writing posts, we can see like how many views and stuff our posts get. So when I started seeing like, tens of thousands of people looking at my posts, and like there's comments of people like, I love this or blah, blah, I'm like, oh wow, like this is a lot of like, I could see there's people like this. So there's some satisfaction in seeing that, and there's some sort of like weird like public approval or something. But it made me feel really good about seeing that. So I think it's sort of like has steamrolled from there. It's like, all right, well, people like XYZ. I keep doing that. That's something I can sort of build up from.
Thanks for sharing that. And it's great you're able to realize that, sometimes that feedback is just proof that, you can do what you love and make it a career. Especially as Asian women, I think most of us think we can only be like a nurse, a doctor, or lawyer, or work in an office. But the world is infinite. Like anything's possible if you just go out there and put your work out, right? You never know who's watching or who's looking at them or who's commenting. And, there's still people out there who see it, who see it but don't even say anything or comment or anything. They're just watching from the background. And because of that, what's your life been like now?
My life's been pretty good, especially with like my career and work. Like, I'm again really fortunate to have very supportive like colleagues, like who again, like they are like, this is so great, you should do more of this and blah, 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 which I'm like, cool, I will. It's tough to find the time to like balance just like, all right, I gotta like keep up with my daily duties at work, but also like wanting to be like creative. But everybody's really supportive, so that's really great. But to your point about like being like coming from like an Asian background and sort of like not having as many people work in like the creative fields, like there's definitely something to be said about like, like it's a cliche that Asian parents want their kids to like be doctors or like lawyers, and like that's great. But like I feel like nowadays, especially like I'm very interested in like movies and TV and stuff like that. We're seeing more people like, in that field who are like, Asian people of color. And I think that's really great, because growing up, I didn't have as many like role models effectively who were like Asians who like worked in the arts or the creative fields. But now I feel like there's more of that, with stuff like movies like Crazy Rich Asians and stuff, with all the filmmakers and all the stars being like Asian, and just sort of like hopefully Hollywood looking for more of those kind of like stories, and like, if that expands out into the arts and like books and etc. Like, I just think it's really great.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. To the woman who's listening to your episode, she may be in her own journey to self-confidence. What would be that one tip you'd give to her?
So my best friend and I from college have this saying that we've had since we were in college. And that's just like, you don't have to do anything. And I think this extends to the idea of doing things to like please others. You don't have to do anything that's outside of your comfort zone or for anyone else. Do what you like to do, make yourself happy, focus on yourself and your interests. All that is just so important.
Thanks for sharing those great tips. And if our listeners wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do and check out some of your work, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yeah, you can check out my Instagram account, which is just at crystal.row.
Thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Crystal, you can also head on over to thetaoofselfconfidence.com and search for Crystal's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else that we talked about. And I really just want to thank Crystal today for taking the time to share her story and tips with us on self-confidence. So thank you so much, Crystal.
You're welcome.
Thanks again. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of The Tao of Self-Confidence. Get your free self-talk tape for building self-confidence by visiting our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.